Welcome to the Ascend Your Success podcast. Whether you're just starting out or are a veteran looking to grow your business, you're in the right place. Join us to learn how to achieve financial freedom while working and living life on your own terms. Hear valuable insights, strategies, and interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Get ready to achieve the success you've always dreamed of. Ready? Let's go.
What's going on, guys? My name is Wyatt Reed, and this is the Ascend Your Success podcast. And today I get to talk to my friend Phil. And we just recently met, man, but I have a good feeling this is going to be a good episode because we do a lot of the same stuff. So, dude, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And if you don't mind, just introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the intro. Yeah, I think sometimes things just happen for a reason, and I think us connecting was kind of the right place, the right time, maybe. But yeah, I'm down here in Northport, Alabama. So Northport's on one side of the river, Tuscaloosa's on the other side of the river. That's where the University of Alabama is. So I'm on the family friendly side of the river over here, away from the college kids. But yeah, man, I'm my entrepreneur journey started in real estate. I was a part-time agent, went to full-time, became a top producer, started my own office. And the whole time I was chasing freedom. And unfortunately, like working more and working longer hours and selling more didn't really seem to be a path to freedom for me. It was good in a lot of ways. I learned a lot of things along the way that I wouldn't have learned. I learned how to get more efficient. I had to develop myself, but I kind of realized if I didn't change what I was doing, I was going to be stuck doing the same thing 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years down the road. And the whole reason I got in real estate at all was to have freedom. So I figured out how to turn, what I knew about real estate into a business. So I opened up a real estate brokerage, and today I've got 10 of those locations across 6 states, and it pretty much runs without me today. It was a lot of hard work. I would not want to have to go through that again. But on the other side of it, I've got a cash flowing asset in that. And I learned a lot about, businesses and how to evaluate them and looking to pick up other businesses. But I have yet to find anything, at least for me and my skill set and my knowledge, that is easier or more scalable than owning a bunch of real estate.
Dude,
So,
I love that.
So when about a year ago, I closed down my original location, and 2 of my partners took over that book of business, and I found myself with a bunch of free time. And I had done some investing here and there. I built some houses. I've had rental properties, even done some commercial stuff here and there, but never really saw it as a viable full-time kind of gig. And I thought, you know what, let me try this. And, I learned there was a lot more to it than what I ever would have thought. And hopefully we can, share some of those lessons learned today to your viewers and your listeners.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I literally just made a post, I think yesterday, about that. It was that people want to get into real estate and they want to build their business so that they can have more freedom, more time with their family, do whatever they want. And all too often, they build themselves a prison in this high-paying job. It does pay great, but it takes a ton of hustle to get it started and get it rolling. And some people don't come out of that season.
Or it's profitable as long as they keep doing it.
Yes.
And then if you stop doing it, or you want to slow down, or I can remember going on vacation, and it's like it wasn't even worth it to go on vacation because you were working so hard the week before. Yep. And then when you came back home, you were working even harder trying to get caught up. So I think it's unfortunately, I think most business owners don't truly own businesses. I think they own jobs.
Yeah,
and that's what the book I wrote was all about, how to get yourself unstuck from that. Some core principles that I learned along the way that I could have done way faster knowing what I know now, but you don't know what you don't know until you figure out you don't know it. So
you got to go through it.
And then the hard part is once you get out of that, how do you avoid the temptation of jumping right back into it? I mean, I could have gone from one thing that was pretty freeing to jumping into just, my whole job would be finding more properties. That's a job as well. It could be a high paying job too. So I've even structured my real estate investing business where I'm really not involved with the day-to-day stuff either. So
Yeah, man, absolutely. I tell me and my business partner talk about this all the time. So he's essentially he built a machine and it's running, and it's a very, very awesome business that he's got. But it takes a lot of employees. It takes a lot of hustle. They're always doing stuff, doing deals and things like that. And what I've done is I've turned around. I started building that, and I realized that's not what I want. And I shut it all down, hit a hard wall, and I said I want to start buying this stuff and cash flowing, because I want to eventually be able to say, hey, I'm good. I don't have to do anything, and I'm 29 years old, and I've hit that point. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to worry in 5 years, if I don't do anything else for another 5-10 years. I don't have to worry about being a janitor somewhere, because I've got all this income coming in every month, man. And so but at the same time, to speak to the reason I said that was because it's always in the back of my mind whenever I have conversations with him. It's sexy. It's what, people like us are always going back and forth. Man, I could flip a switch and do that within the next couple of months and have that up and running. And then it's like, I think about it, and I'm like, man, that is not what I want. I got to stay focused. Right.
Yeah, same way. Like I used to be, I was real big in the fitness world back in the day. I used to be a, I used to be a competitive power lifter at one point, and I always wanted to own a gym. And in the last year, I've had like 3 or 4 gym owners come to me about, selling to me. And I'm just like, man, that's 7 days a week. If my cleaning guy doesn't show up to the gym to mop the floors and do the towels, guess who's going to be down there on a Sunday, doing laundry and mopping floors? Me. And I am not signing myself up for that kind of work. So it's an interesting perspective you have, because like 5 years ago, any opportunity like that would have come my way, I probably would have jumped on it. So having clarity about what you want and having clarity about what you don't want, I think, is a true superpower that I didn't realize until, the last 2 or 3 years. So
I'm right there with you, man. Like if you only hear one thing on this episode, it is to stay in your lane, because just like what you said, I've always wanted to own a bar and grill. I bought a bar and grill. I actually took action on it and bought it, and I had it shut down in, I think, 8 months, because it drove me nuts. I was losing money left and right, and I couldn't take it anymore. So stay in your lane. Dude,
that's a great analogy. Yeah, stay in your lane. Put on blinders. I think of like the horses, that have the little blinder things where they can't really see left or right. But it's hard, man. We, especially as entrepreneurs, we see things and we have I have the confidence I could pretty much jump into any small business and I could take it and grow it and scale it. But just because I could do it doesn't mean I should do it,
100%, man. So a lot of people that listen to this podcast are brand new. So tell us, kind of where you got started in real estate versus like where you are now, and how did you make that transition, or are you doing the same things you were doing when you first got started?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, it kind of started in, I'd say I started back in 2022. I started originally in probably like 2017. I started having success as, a real estate agent. And I thought, hey, I need to get into rentals. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't do any research on it at all. Next thing you know, I was kind of surprised like how easy it was to go to a bank and like get a loan to buy a piece of real estate. And so, I did that. I had a couple rentals right away. Everything was going good until one of them moved out. And until, I had some big ticket maintenance items at another one. And now all of a sudden, this passive, cash flowing investment I had was now taking up my time. It was taking up my money. And so I didn't really know what to do. So I actually sold those properties at that time. And I felt like this was a good lesson learned. I need to reassess, my game plan. And then, I decided to just go deeper in what I was doing as a professional. I turned, my real estate knowledge of working with buyers and sellers into a brokerage. And I started coaching and training agents and getting them out there doing it. I eventually was able to get out of the production side of it once I had enough agents that they could go out there and they could handle all the showings and the listings and the contracts and all that. And so in 2022, interest rates, kind of went up big time. A couple of scores, like went from like 2.25%. It seemed like earlier that year to like in the 5.5%. And it really, really slowed down production for my agents. It was, people didn't know where the market was going. And it really is like, man, like everything I've spent the last 4 or 5 years building could be in jeopardy here. And so I thought, well, I know I could flip a house. Let me just go flip a house and we'll figure it out in the meantime. And so I did that and I did it and, had a successful flip. But I realized the way that I funded that one really prevented me from going and getting a second one or a third one going at that time. Mm. And so I said, man, I've got to figure out a different game plan here. Like if I'm going to really flip houses consistently, I've got to figure out a way to go get the money, because I did not have that much money saved up. I wasn't willing to take out like a line of credit against my house or anything like that. And that's when I found Ron LeGrand, is a big, seller finance guy. I started listening to him. I bought a course through him, kind of took some of the things he teaches and kind of adapted it a little bit. And then I started doing lease purchase options. So I would give somebody, they'd put $10,000 or $15,000 down. They'd have 2 or 3 years to cash me out at a predetermined price that would have been a win for me. And I started doing that, and I thought, man, this is the greatest thing ever. Like I'm getting big down payments up front. I'm not having to pay for any maintenance or any repairs. But I found too, like that was another difficult thing. It was hard finding those deals. It was hard finding the funding for those deals. And so I really started learning about seller financing, and then I discovered private money. And so the deals we're doing today, if we can get them seller financing or creatively, sometimes we don't even finance them. Sometimes we just have a 6-month contract where we owe them a certain amount, within a 6-month period. We do a lot of them that way, and that's kind of our go-to. But if somebody really needs the cash right now, we've developed enough private money sources that if we need to go take one down, we need to close on it in 7 days or 10 days, we can take a property down using private money, and then we can figure out what we're going to do with it after that. So that's basically what I'm doing today. Since January 1st, we've flipped 11 houses, made money on 10, lost money on 1. So learned a lot along the way on that. And a lot of the ones we're flipping right now are ones that we're not even renovating.
Yep.
We've gotten a lot better at the lead generation side of things, and we can get them at such a good price that we can get them under contract. We can throw them on the MLS with a listing agent. And if we can make 15 or 20 grand without doing anything to them, that is our go-to first.
Big.
So yeah, that's kind of what we learned. The one that we lost money on, learned so many things along the way. It was a huge renovation. It was a house that had been in a fire. Luckily, it didn't actually cause much structure damage, but all the sheetrock had to be torn out. All the wiring had to be torn out. The HVAC had to be redone. Just things that we really did not expect on that property had to be done. And once we were in it, you kind of had to keep going,
yep,
or else you're going to have a property sitting there that was halfway finished that still smelled like smoke. Mm-hmm. And so we had to go above and beyond just to get that one. And we actually got a contract on it in the last 24 hours. So we lost money on that one, not a ton, but we definitely lost money on 1 out of the 11. Yeah. And, those are numbers that I think I'm okay with working on.
Yeah. More wins than losses. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's okay to take losses as long as you're winning more than you're losing, right?
Yeah. One thing I learned when I was growing my real estate brokerage was, if I had 5 agents and I lost 2, that was a huge hit.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had 30 real estate agents working for me and I lost 2, it still kind of stings. Like, you never want to lose anybody. But if you lose 2 people out of your 30, you still got 28 that are still there.
Right.
So I've just learned along the way safer to go big on things. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do one flip a year, man, you better make sure that one flip a year is a big win.
Yeah.
But if you're cranking them out 2 or 3 a month, you can afford to lose on one here, there. And I don't want to lose on any of them. I don't go into any of them thinking I'm going to lose, but we've got other projects lined up behind this one that we're about to lose on that I know we're going to make really good money on. So it doesn't sting as much. It's kind of like, hey, lesson learned. Let's move on and let's make it up on the next ones.
Yeah, man. I think it's very important to understand going into this that you're going to be, and you need to have um, just an open concept about it. Like you're always going to be evolving. You're always going to be adapting, changing your strategies as the market changes. You're going to have to change and shift. And you just need to have an open mindset about it. Because I had a similar story. I started out buying rentals. I thought wholesaling was really sketchy. So I wanted to buy rentals. Then I realized, $200, $300 a month, it's going to take a lot of rentals. And then if one HVAC system goes out, I'm screwed. Right. So that's when we got into the whole flipping and wholesaling thing. And I just realized that that was the worst time of my life, was when we were doing 5 to 6 flips at a time. And we were pulling money from projects to pay for other projects. We were making a crap ton of money, but we had no clue where it was going. And that's when we had to stop and just say, hey, there's got to be a better way. And it took me 2 or 3 years to build that whole thing and get into that. And then it took me less than 1 year to start buying up a crazy amount of properties and get into a life to where it was stress. It was so much less stress and so easy to make money. And exactly what you said, we don't not take flips down anymore, but we do very, very, very little work to them. And so it's just so much more stress free and such a better life,
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, flipping is there's probably some people out there that thrive on like that stress that comes with it, and but for me, like I personally don't like having to make that many decisions on a project. What kind of knobs are we going to use on the cabinets, and you can somewhat like systemize that and say this is the paint colors we're going to use, this is the style flooring we're going to use. But they're still like, your contractor calls you. They're never saying, hey man, good news, we opened up the wall here and we're actually going to be able to save you $400 from what we quote you. It's
Right.
always, hey, we found this and it's going to cost this much extra.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's probably just my personality. I'm like so positive all the time. I'm so like forward, facing the whole time. Like, how do we keep going forward? How do we keep pushing through? I just don't like dealing with all the headaches that come with flipping. But like you said, it is a viable way to make some money in the meantime until we have a big enough portfolio to where we're not even having to do a flip ever again.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I used to say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But I've started to realize that is not true. Like, it takes a special person to do this kind of stuff. And somebody who's got to face problems and not go out and hide from them. And like, if you're losing money and you're ducking the bank, like, it's just, it takes a special kind of person. I think sometimes we're the crazy ones, but yeah, man, I love it. So, all right, talk to us about, like, obviously, like I said, we got new people listening. How do you find your deals now? Because I just actually recently stepped into Tuscaloosa, and so we need to do some deals together. But I've got 3 under contract. One I'm wholesaling to a guy who's going to sell her finance in Northport, and then we're wholesaling the other 2 as well. So, how are you getting leads?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a carrot site, like a lot of people do. Superfastsold.com is our carrot site, so we get some leads through that. But one advantage that I have, that I realized I had an advantage in this, was that when I looked at the local landscape of real estate professionals, like licensed real estate agents in the Tuscaloosa area, I realized there was nobody out there that was the investor agent. Now they work with investors. They could show them a house, but most of them don't know how to analyze a deal. They don't know how to underwrite and say, like, would this make sense as a rental? Would this make sense as a short-term rental? Would this make sense as a flip? And so I realized that, and it seems like very simple to me. Like there's tried and true formulas out there that anybody can use. But I leaned in really, really hard to being that local real estate expert when it comes to dealing with investors. So I started a investor club that meets monthly. I get deals from that every month. For me, I get to be the one, standing up in front of the group, talking, leading, facilitating. I'm not always the speaker, but I'm certainly the leader of the group. And being in that kind of position has allowed me to kind of portray myself as the authority in the area, even though there's people way better at it and way bigger in it than I am.
Right.
None of them were leading a group like what I have. So I've gotten deals from that. I've also gotten a great deal of private money lenders from that as well. They say, hey, I don't want to do what you do, Phil, but I'd love to partner with you on a deal. And next thing you know, we're having that conversation of, well, hey, here's how we could work together. When I find a deal that's a really smoking hot deal, I need to find the money for it really, really quick. Could I add you to the list of people potentially that could fund a deal if I find a really good deal on one? And I never have to call more than 2 people to get funding on a deal. So I've built up that for me. And then within the local real estate community, a lot of the realtors themselves know that I'm a cash buyer in the area. So I get 2 or 3 properties a week just dropped in my lap. I've got one right now I've got to go look at tomorrow that's not on the market, and it's a heavy fixer-upper. And this agent said, hey, before we put this thing on the market and take pictures and have people come and look at it, why don't I give it to Phil and see if he would be interested in it first? Because I'll let them double in the commission. I don't need to make a commission off of it. So I'll let them get the listing side commission and the buyer side commission for bringing a deal to me if the numbers still work out for me where we can do it that way.
Yeah.
So I built up that. I mean, I use a cold caller. So I have a cold caller calling every day, Monday through Friday, about 1,500 cold calls a day. And then I have a virtual assistant that sends out offers every single day. And really, when I look at everything I'm doing, the investor club that I started locally, and the VA who's just simply sending out offers on properties that are on the market, and it's nice finding off-market deals. But if you know what to look for on the MLS, on Realtor.com, on the wholesaler websites, and you make offers every day and you follow up on those offers, I mean, we're getting amazing deals on properties that are listed on the market with a real estate agent that everybody else is seeing. They just saw it for what it is. Hey, that one's $85,000. We can't make any money at 85. Well, I offered 26.5 and we got it for 36.5 and we did make money off of it,
Right.
So I'm just a real big believer of like doing proactive things, not waiting for a deal to come to me. So our cold callers are finding stuff. My VA's out there making offers every single day for us. And then we have, the investor club where we're specifically going out and letting people know this is who we are. This is what we do. We'd love to partner with you on a deal. So
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I agree 100%. I think even if you're doing paid lead sources, you need to do free lead sources as well. There's power in the network, and like you've obviously built that. And so like what I see is a lot of times if one of our students is going to be doing like postcards, for example, well, there's 2 to 3 weeks in between when you decide you're going to do it and they actually hit doors, right? And then what I see is like when they get on the calls, they're like not doing anything. We're just waiting on postcards to drop. I'm like, why? Why in the world would you do that? You need to be going to investor groups. You need to be getting in and building relationships with wholesalers and agents. And honestly, I wish I would have known you before, because that was the first thing that we did is me and my partner met up over there, and we went around town and we met with some agents, man. And like, I was really let down with the people we talked to. And so it's very, very important. Like you said, if you're going to work with agents, you need to work with agents who are in the investing side as well. So even if you're doing paid marketing, do free marketing too. Don't just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. Get into it, take action, right?
Yeah. Free 99 is my favorite price. So, I think, even if you start the postcards or you start a carrot site like today, like even if you could like swipe your card and the postcards would go out today, it's still going to be probably 4 to 6 months before you really get a good deal off of that. From my experience, maybe yours is different, but I mean, you get calls, you get leads, but like somebody who's really ready to do a deal, sometimes it takes 4 to 6 months. So in the meantime, you got to do something else.
Right.
And to me, like what helped me as an agent was, when I was first starting my career, nobody knew who I was. I hadn't made a name for myself. But I was in that office every single morning, first one there, door closed, prospecting for 2 to 3 hours every single morning. Phone calls, text messages, emails, Facebook messages, just trying to drum up some business. And so when I started on the investing side, I said, hey, we got all these other things out there that we know are going to work. But in the meantime, let's try to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah,
So,
love it. I love it 100%, man. So, tell us for all these new people listening, what was what was that aha moment that that just changed that trajectory of your business? Like what, tell us a little bit about that. Give us a nugget on if you could go back and do it again, what would you do differently?
yeah, I mean, I think so much of it in the beginning is there's so many ways you can go. I mean, you can make a good living flipping. You can, I had kind of the same experience with wholesalers. I thought wholesalers were shady, were unethical, and to be honest with you, like a fair amount of them probably are. But wholesaling, when it's done the right way, is actually a legitimate way to solve people's problems and monetize a deal that doesn't fit your buy box. So I think I just didn't know what I didn't know. I was eager to go out there and learn. And I did go out and try some things and tried a couple different models before I kind of landed on this is the kind of property I want. And if it doesn't fit this, we're going to wholesale it, or we're just going to not touch it at all. So the problems I've gotten myself into is when I have tried to venture outside of what actually fits my model.
Mm.
So I think just being eager to just make a deal work at all costs. Like I'm competitive, I was used to, as a listing agent, I was used to walking into a for sale by owner and walking out with a listing agreement and putting my sign in the yard. Yeah, I did a good enough job to show them not only why do they need an agent, but why do they need me to be their agent. And so that kind of hurt me a little bit in the beginning, to be honest with you. Every property I looked at, I wanted to try to make the deal work. I wanted to try to win it because I was just so eager to get going. I had to kind of, even today, I've got one that was sent to me over the weekend that when I first looked at it, I was like, man, this has got some potential. But then that like gut feeling of like, man, is this really a good deal? Could this potentially be one that we lose on? And I've just kind of learned to like slow down a little bit, really look at the numbers, analyze things, and not be so like driven just to get a deal if the deal isn't going to make sense for me and for everybody involved. So I would say that probably was my biggest mistake and my biggest aha moment was that a lot of deals aren't going to work. I'm looking for the few out there that will every single day.
Yeah, you can't force a deal, and that's something also. And I know you coach people as well. Like when I'm talking to new guys, they are so excited to get their first deal, and I always find myself telling them that, you know, you're still working your 9 to 5. Do you need this deal? Like you don't need a deal, so you need to be very strategic on the deals that you do take down. So you don't have to have a deal. Slow down. Yeah, absolutely, man. And with that too, I think learning multiple strategies and learning what you like and what you don't like, and learning how to pitch multiple offers really sets you apart. We were just talking about the creativeness in your offers. If you're just pitching a cash offer, you're doing it wrong. Like that should be your anchor, yes, but I mean, we pitch seller finance terms, we pitch novations. Like if you don't take our cash, we can go up from there and pitch multiple offers, and that will help us win more and more. But I agree with you 100%. We're not forcing a deal for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I had to realize too, like, as an agent, my job was to try to get that seller the most money possible as fast as possible. And dealing with the kind of homeowners we're dealing with now, it's a different clientele, right? They, if they want to go that route, they can, but most of them are looking for quick, easy, guaranteed, not having to show the house, not having to repair the house. So I've kind of had to tailor my approach a little bit too, of if that's what they want. Like there's times where I go look at a house and I'm like, man, for 10 grand, you can put 10 grand in this house and sell it for 30 or $40,000 more. And sometimes I will pitch that to them like, hey, why don't we structure the deal this way? Because I feel pretty confident if me and my team come in and do what we need to do to this property, you can make more money and we can make more money. But it might be 3 months before that happens. And sometimes they just say, well, hey, yeah, let's do that. I want to kind of be in that middle. Like, I don't want to list it with an agent and deal with all that, but also don't want to take your quick cash, low offer. So yeah, having multiple strategies go in is so huge. And you've got to realize like that's the game that we're in is solving people's problems. There are people out there who have pieces of real estate that these pieces of real estate literally are causing them stress and anxiety, and it's costing them money, and they don't know what they're going to do. And we're able to kind of solve problems like that. So the example I use with people I'm coaching is, if I put my truck for sale and I sold it on Facebook Marketplace, I could probably sell it for more money than I would get if I went and traded it in at the dealership, right? Mm-hmm. But people see that new vehicle that, they see that new truck that comes out and they say, I want to go get it today. So they're taking a lesser offer on the trade-in of their existing vehicle just to get that new one. Yep. And that's the same kind of clientele that we're kind of catering to on the real estate investing side. They could make more money if they fixed it up themselves, but sometimes they don't have the money to fix it up. They could make more money if they fixed it up and spend a little bit more time, but they need the money in the next 30 days. Yeah. So what I look for more than anything on a deal is how motivated is the seller? What's their pain point? Why are they wanting to sell it to me versus just calling a listing agent, put it on the market? If I can figure that out, I have a lot better chance of knowing whether or not I can make a deal or not. Yeah. So, because I can't help everybody. And sometimes, the great thing about having a real estate team is if a lead hits our website or our cold caller gets a lead and, we need to get it for 135, but they want 180. A lot of times we'll tell them, hey, Mr. Seller, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get anywhere close to 180. But I tell you what, we'll have Pat Powell, which is one of our listing agents, we'll have Pat reach out to you and he'll run some numbers of what it could go for on the retail market. And I think you'll be able to get a lot closer to that 180. And if I was you, that's what I would do in this situation. And if you find out you can't sell it that way, if it doesn't work that way, you can always come back to us. And so we send that lead to our listing agent. Our listing agent goes out and lists it. And we turn that property that we wouldn't have been able to get, we turn that into a referral fee. So we get a portion of the commission on that deal. And that's one of the great advantages of having a real estate license is you can monetize leads that you wouldn't have been able to monetize, otherwise. So that's been a great source of additional income for us too. So we have a lot of options. We could cash offer, we could novate it, we could do a long-term seller financing, we could do a 3-year balloon, 5-year balloon, all kind of options we can go, or we could just simply have them listed on the retail market with an agent, and we win no matter which way they go.
Dude, I literally, I can talk to you about this all day, and I'd love to. We probably just need to do this again too, and kind of go into more of the details and nitty gritty of the seller financing, because there's, I'm sure, a ton of people that are like, what 3-year balloon? What is that? But we'll definitely do this again. We're coming up on time. And so there's a lot to this, man. There's a lot that I didn't know. And honestly, when I first started, I tried to do it myself. I was reading books, listening to podcasts, and it just didn't work. And then I hired my first coach, and it was like that, right? Light switch. Mm-hmm. So I know you coach over in the Tuscaloosa market. Tell us what you coach, tell us how you do it, and how can we reach out to you and talk to you?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you giving me a chance to plug that. My model is this. I coach people how to flip houses and wholesale houses to raise money to go pay cash for real estate. So You can make 50,000, 100,000 flipping a house, but what do you do with that money once you have it?
Right.
So I think that's where I go the next step further. I don't want to just show people how to flip a house. I want to flip a house to raise money, and then we're going to take that money to go buy a house that we're then going to own or finance to somebody over a 30-year period. That way we're getting monthly cash flow. Every single month we're getting a payment of principal and interest on this thing without having to deal with maintenance, without having to deal with repairs. You get all the benefits of having a rental property, but you don't have to be on hook for the maintenance and repairs. And that is the model that I personally am following myself. And it works for all kind of properties out there. You could do it for commercial. You could do it for storage units. You could do it for single family residences. We've even done quite a bit of vacant churches. We find vacant church buildings and we buy them, and we find somebody that's needing a space, for their church, and we own or finance it to them.
Wow.
So, the model really doesn't change. It's, we like owner financing properties to people. We do it on a contract for deed. So the property stays in our name until they've paid us off. So we get to continue, getting those depreciation benefits on our income taxes because the property stays in our name until they've paid it off. And I do a Zoom call every single Thursday. If people look me up on Facebook, you can find links to that. It's every single Thursday. If you can't attend that Zoom call live, as long as you register, I send out the recording of that call every Friday. And we got coaching programs starting at $149 for a whole year, all the way up to $25,000 for 12 sessions, depending on what you're wanting to do and how far you're wanting to go and how fast you want to do it. So in today's day and age, there is no excuse out there to not have a coach. So do your due diligence. There's a lot of good coaches out there. I know Wyatt's got a great program as well. We're talking about partnering on some stuff going forward. So maybe we'll do another episode when we get ready to drop that. But having a coach is going to be the ultimate cheat code.
100%.
I hired a coach when I was trying to be a successful realtor. I became successful. I hired a coach to help me grow my brokerage. I went out and found somebody that was known to be coaching the top team leaders and the top broker owners in the country. Coach with him. Next thing you know, I've got 10 locations across 6 states. So, you're going to learn one way or the other. It's either going to be expensive hiring a coach, which $149 might be expensive to some people. There was a time where that would have been expensive to me. But you're either going to pay for it in coaching or you're going to find out the hard way on your own. So yep. I would rather have the coach and avoid some of the heartaches that come with learning on your own because the market will teach you one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that there won't be anything go wrong. But I always tell my guys, I'm like, man, you don't know the crap that we had to go through so that you don't have to. We can kind of guide you through all of that, and hopefully you don't have to go through the same crap that we went through. And like, why in the world would I try to figure it out and do it myself and build this thing when so many other people have already built it, gone through it, and I can just take that and run with it, right? So 100%. So how do we get a hold of you? Facebook?
Yeah, I'd say the Facebook. I've got a YouTube channel out there too where I put free coaching content out there as well. But yeah, you go to my Facebook profile, it's going to be in my bio. It's going to be if you just scroll through a couple Facebook posts, you'll find one talking about Thursday's training, and you can also DM me and I can get you registered for that too. But I do that every week. Again, I'm all about contribution, all about giving back. I can't give away everything on those Thursday calls. There's just not enough time. But that's a great way to kind of, let folks taste the ice cream, so to say. So don't have to pay anything. Don't have to sign up for coaching. Hop on a Thursday call. See if you like, the environment, the culture, the stuff that's being put out. And if you do, then you can go further. So.
Heck yeah, I love it, man. Thank you so much for being on. I hope that we can do this again and get more nitty-gritty about seller financing. But, dude, I think this was awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for what you're doing. And hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you next time you come down to T-Town. So.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. Hey, guys, I really appreciate you listening. And, hey, if you're interested in learning how to do what we do, maybe you heard something today that sparked your interest, just fill out an application. Go to ascendyoursuccess.com. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, let's hop on a phone call and talk about it and see if we're a right fit for you and you're a right fit for us. Have a great rest of the day.